Hello, I'm Christina from The Turned Leg. I love to salvage, repurpose, and create and help others to do the same. Today, this video is a part of a very exciting spring collaboration set of videos. So when you're done watching this video, make sure to click down below and watch all of the other videos by some amazingly creative people. Also, make sure to click the like button for them and subscribe to their channels. Spring is around the corner, right? I don't know, I'm recording this video, I'm looking out my window in Michigan and there's just piles and piles of snow. But I want to get positive and start thinking spring. So I know many of you have this kind of fencing in your garages. They seem to live there rolled up like it is in mine. So my thoughts of spring led me to my next project. I'm going to take some of this old fencing and salvage, repurpose, and create it, and do what I like to do best. I'm going to be adding some of that garden fencing to this shelf for a spring-inspired project. The first step of this project is to put down some paint using DIY paint. It is clay-based, all-natural paint, so you can just paint and go. For more tips on how to use DIY paint, click the video above. I'm using aviary. It's a really pretty spring green color. If your piece is really dirty, you might want to wipe it down. If it's really bumpy, you might want to sand it. But pretty much, this is a great paint for anyone who's new to painting. It sticks to anything. The first coat is done, and you'll notice as DIY paint dries, it lightens, so you can always tell when you can apply the second coat. Make sure to also check for drips and catch any before it dries completely. Just a little tip, I like to keep my brush inside a Ziploc in between coats. That way my brush doesn't dry out and I don't have to wash it. Time to grab a few tools. I grabbed my staple gun with staples and my wire cutters. In hindsight, a pair of gloves probably would have been good when working with the wire too. I also grabbed a really cool board out of my garage, and I'm going to be using this too to also make a shelf. This piece is a little unruly of fencing, and I'm only going to be using this top part, but I need to leave a little extra. So you want to get some good wire cutters. We're going to see if these cut good enough. And you need to measure out how much you need. So make sure you know before you cut, because once you cut, you can't go back. Then I cut the wire. Well, tried to. These wire cutters didn't last very long, so I upgraded. Cut the fencing down. Now, this is probably longer than I need, but you're gonna need some extra fencing down here to fold under your shelf so that you can secure it and staple it. So I'm gonna leave it a little longer and then I'll cut the extra when I need it. And now I'm gonna kind of like dry fit it to my piece and see how long I want it. Once your fencing is pretty straight and you have the bend all set to go, now it's time to get your staple gun and secure it down. You might need someone to help you hold things down, at least for the first few, because it can be a little unruly. Another option is, if you don't have an extra pair of hands, use something heavy to hold down the fencing so you can keep it in place while you're working. My little staple gun wasn't cutting it, so time for an upgrade. This is an electric. We'll see if it works better. I used a hammer to tap the rest of the staples all the way in. Then I cut the excess fencing. Where my board had a little bit of rotten wood, I did have to use 2 staples to hold it in place. If you're worried about the wires or the rough fencing on the bottom, you could apply a second piece of wood or a piece of trim. Paint was dry and it was time to distress with 220 grit sandpaper. Once you've sanded your piece, now it is time to wax. And for this project, I'm going to use DIY Paint Clear Wax. Make sure you dust your project really well, get off all the sanding dust. To wax, I'm using my JRV stencil brush, which also doubles as an excellent wax brush. There's no secret to waxing, just kind of rub it in. You will note a color change, and that is just because the wax is reactivating the paint, but don't freak out, it will lighten as it dries. For more information on waxing and top coats, check out my other video. The next step is to take your piece of fencing, which hopefully you cut it a little bit larger just in case, and you kind of want to dry fit it to the shelf to figure out where you want it. On my other shelf that I'm doing, it's going to be taller because the shelf is bigger. This one, I'm not going to need as much fencing, so this whole bottom row I think can go, but I wanted to make sure before I cut it, because once you cut it, you can't uncut it. So double check everything, maybe cut it a little bigger just to make sure you know exactly what you want. Once you've bent your fencing down and made sure it's gonna fit, the next step is you're gonna staple it on. To purchase any of the products that you saw me using today, you can shop my online store at shoptheturnedleg.com, or if you're local, you can visit my booth at Plaza Antiques and Collectibles Mall in Lincoln Park, Michigan. I added the board to my existing corbel shelf, and I love the new springy look that it gives. If you're interested in learning how to create a shelf like this for your house, just click on the video above. I think you could also use this as a great centerpiece on a table. I love the contrast between the old wire fencing and the painted little shelf. It's also absolutely perfect for my Easter collectibles. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it's inspired you to look at objects that you have in a whole different light and turn them into something new that you can use. Don't forget, I'm part of a collaboration, so make sure to watch all of the other great videos that are a part of this in the link down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me to continue to grow my channel to help others to salvage, repurpose, and create.